Hey, welcome back to Mike's Trains. This video we're going to set up the last part of the access to the new passenger train yard from the main line. This will be the last time we need to get into this mainline section here. Now, from what I showed you before, I've kind of done a few things here. I really wanted to have a crossover in there, and the one I had that you had seen in the earlier video was a 90 degree, I believe, which wasn't going to work, so I ended up getting another one. It's a 60 degree. I really wanted to have this feature in here, and it fits perfectly, and that's going to line up with this other part up here. This is where the turnouts are going to be. I just need to put a piece of straight section of track here. Now, originally I had this turnout was set back here, but in order to fit this in, I moved it this way, and I changed my mind about having, I had originally talked about maybe having a turnout way back over here that would come up here and go into the other room. And it didn't really make sense because it's going in the same direction as the other end of the train yard. So only access to, when or if I expand this layout, the only access into the rest of the layout is only from one direction, and I want it to be from two directions. So in order to make that happen, I had to back up this turnout, and then what that does is it allows trains going in this direction to come off, and I can bring that over into the wall here and end that at the wall, much like I did the other side. Now, whether I do something with it in this area here, I don't know yet. That remains to be seen. But for the time being, the 60 degree crossover right here works perfectly. The only thing I had to do is I used a piece of regular curve track, and I just cut back the curve track about 1/4 of an inch right here so that this fits in nicely. Everything just sits right down in. We're coming off the turnout into it. Everything works perfectly. And I did set these two turnouts are in. Now the only reason I saved this end for the video was I want to do a crossover, and I know when I first started doing model railroading, I didn't really know how to do anything, so I figured I'd just do it quick on a video in case somebody doesn't know. I thought it would be nice to see. I had to figure it out for myself, so I figured I'd show somebody else how I do them. Maybe there's a better way to do it, I don't know, but this is how I do them. So let's take a look at that. Okay, so what I have this turnout right here. This is actually two turnouts tail to tail. So this turnout here will go to the crossover. This turnout here goes up into the train yard. These were already set in place. I put these where I wanted them, and they had to line up with the crossover that's up further. So now I want to build this crossover here. So I have another turnout, and because this is coming into a corner right here, there's a curve right into here, I can only go so far back, but I got to go back as far as I can possibly get it, which is probably about right here. And that's going to leave me, 1.5 inches of space, give or take. You can probably put them right up to each other like this and have a short transition between the two, but I find that my trains run better if I back them off and give them a little bit of space to gradually run into the next track. So that's how I'm going to do this, and that's how I've done my other ones. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark the straight track here, and we're going to cut this out, this section of track out, so I can set down in this turnout. So we're going to cut this one here, and actually, why don't we take a marker, and we'll go right there like that, and then we'll take this one, and I'm just going to mark a tie rather than the rail. do the same over here. We'll cut this tie. So that's the amount of track I need to take out. So from this tie all the way back to this tie, these black marked ties. So we're going to get the rail cutters. Now, in order to get these rail joiners in here easier, I found one of these small files that if you take this and you push it down underneath the rail, carefully in there, you need to file off whatever remains on the bottom of the rail. Okay, so we'll fit this underneath and just file these down just a little bit. And we'll do the same at the other end. Okay, and then rail joiners will go on, and I think I'm going to put them on this piece and then put it into place. Like that. So that's going to go like that. So now we're short over here. So I'm just going to pull back this a little bit further and I'll put in a longer piece, because a very small piece like that is going to be kind of difficult to get in there. So that's how we're going to have to do that. So let's pull that back some more. And I think this is one of the 1-inch sections I took off of the turnouts. Right here, and I think I'll just cut this back to fit right in there like that, and that should be more than enough. Okay, so there's our ties here, rails, and we're going to fit that into here. Okay, so I've got this piece in. It's up a little bit because the rail joiners popped a little, but once I put the caulk on there, that'll go right down. But the important part is this cross piece here. And what I've done is I took a piece of flex track and I cut it to the length to fit between the spots, and now I just need to fit that in. So that goes something like this. Okay, so there's one end, and now we just need to hook up this other end. And it's a little tricky with tracks that, you know, aren't exactly as movable as I'd like them to be. So that one goes in like that. I'm going to take a knife and we'll push. Like that. Okay, so now we have a crossover that's in. And then at this point, it's just a matter of aligning this whole thing into the right spot. And that stays pretty much just like that. And we're all hooked up. Oh dear. We're all hooked up and this is ready to go. The only thing left now to finish the run into the yard is a section of track right over here. Just this section of track, and that'll just be another piece of flex track, and then the whole thing, like I did the other pieces, we'll spread some caulk on here, weight these pieces down, and let it sit for a while, a couple hours, until it sets and dries. The only thing I do need to do before I do that is I need to cut off on these turnouts. They have turnout controls on both sides, so I just need to clip off the ones in the center here, and then all the way down here, the center one over here. Okay, so this whole cluster of stuff is now in, and I'm not going to take it back out. I'll squeeze in the caulk like I did before and do it like that. And then as I'm looking at this, I'm sitting here, and I wanted this line here, this line off of the crossover to go into the wall and give the illusion that it goes off somewhere else, but it never will. So originally I had a piece of mirror back here on the wall. Now this little piece of mirror, in order to make this road continue through, I had it set like this, so you can see the road continues on somewhere. But with this track here coming through, this being out at an angle like this isn't going to work. So it dawned on me while I'm looking at this, if I lay this back to the wall, flat to the wall, okay, now the mirror of course takes this road and it cuts it back that way. Now here's what occurred to me, and this is I think what I'm going to do. I'm going to continue this road. I'm going to build it out here so it continues a curve. I don't know if you can see that or not. So right there, if you look carefully, you can kind of see what I got going on. So when you look at this, you can see the road here, okay, and then you can see it in the mirror right there, but there's this big void. So if I fill in like this pie-shaped wedge, I can give the illusion that the road goes in, and it's like a sharp corner in the road that goes back around and off into nowhere basically. And then what I'm going to do after I do that is this other section of rail. This is from the crossover. I'm going to take this and I'm going to run this straight into the mirror like this and curve it around into my crossover, straight in like this. Maybe we'll move it over to the edge, and that'll also give the appearance of the tracks being connected and going off somewhere. And you can actually see, when you look in the mirror, you can see the curve that'll be, you can see the curve that'll actually be in there back here when it comes off of this crossover and it curves around. So this comes in straight like this. This is, I think this is exactly what I'm going to do. So this will run just like this into the crossover. It's a nice curve. It's not too much for trains to negotiate. And I'm going to take this like this, and the curve that's in here, let's see if I can set this into place. Because it's flex track, it doesn't want to stay. But if I take this and I throw this on top of here, and I take this like this and I line it up here, this little curve right here shows in the mirror, and in the mirror the track curves around inside the wall, but you don't see any of this crossover stuff. It cuts off your view, which is absolutely perfect, and I think that's what I'm going to end up doing. And then that leaves me this small triangle right here to do something with, and then all I have to do is camouflage the edges of this mirror with trees like back here. You know, maybe more of these pine trees. I can do stuff like that and just kind of bury that mirror up so you only see the reflection but not the edges of the mirror. And I think that'll work out perfect, better than I thought actually. And that'll take care of that. This will probably be the next side that I put in here. Maybe we'll do that next. I can cut the length of it, but I got to get the mirror put on. I got to get this section of road built in, and then maybe I'll cut. I have two kinds of mirror. To do this is the regular mirror like you buy in the store, okay? And the front surface is glass, the back has the mirrored surface on it. This works fine for some stuff, not so much when you put things up to it, because what happens is when you put a piece of track up to this, I don't know if this shows on camera or not, it puts a small gap between the two sections of track. Okay, it's the thickness of the glass, because the reflective surface is on the back. Now I have other mirror which I'll probably use for this, and it's called it's got a couple names. I bought it under front surface mirror or first surface mirror. You can buy it, you look for it. It's used for kaleidoscopes, it's used for medical purposes. That has the reflective surface on the face, on this face of the mirror, so when you put something up to it there's no gap, and it takes that away so you don't get that. And I think I may use some of that in there. The only bad part about that mirror, it's very easy to damage the face of the mirror. So I think that's what's going to happen back there, and that'll finish off that corner perfectly, and that'll work out really well. I have mirrors elsewhere on my layout, and I'm going to continue it, and we're going to go right up into there with it, and that'll finish up that whole little area here. Originally I was going to do a tunnel, maybe a mountain, but with this smaller stuff in here it's not really going to work out. So with the mirror that finishes that up nicely, and I don't have to worry about it, and it kind of takes care of itself. Alright, so off camera I went and I put all the caulk down underneath the rails. I used a putty knife like I've done in the others, and I slid it underneath. Now I have weights on top. Now this has to dry for a while, so I think this is a good time to end this video, and we'll come back next time and we'll start building the yard ladder up in here to get it fit in so that we can measure out for the cork and all that stuff. So for now, that's going to be it. Thanks for watching, and don't forget, if you're watching me on YouTube, you can find me on my other social medias. Find my website, it's mikestrains.wordpress.com. If you're watching me from elsewhere, please come subscribe to me on YouTube. You can find me at Mike's Trains, is my YouTube channel. So that's it for today. So until next time, happy modeling.